Hello, everyone. Welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's the 10th of October, 2025. It's Friday, and we've got a great show lined up for you today with a brand new higher end laptop. We've been looking at budget laptops from our good friends over at Nemo, and today they sent us one of their higher end machines that is also very aggressively priced. We're going to take a deep dive into that, a live unboxing, a live review. But first, a shout out and a thank you to all of our members for joining us, and also to our good friends over at URCDKEY Deals that offer the discounted Windows and Office license keys. The website, let me just put a screen on. Here we go. This is what VIP-URCDKEYs looks like. And what you're going to do is select your version of Windows that you want. You will install your Windows, and at the end of the install, when it's all said and done, you put in your activation code. Same way with Microsoft Office. After you make the purchase, you're going to receive an email with download instructions. Unless you have your own copy of Office or Windows you want to use, they'll provide a link for you to grab it from Microsoft, and then they'll provide the directions and your product key, and they also have 6 months of free support if you run into any troubles. And they take PayPal as payment. So these are the product keys that I use in my real life business and myself and the people I care about. I don't buy keys from sketchy or suspicious sellers. And the best I can do is just show you some screenshots. Bear in mind, prices are subject to change as the foreign exchange rates are constantly in flux, but they shouldn't change by a few pennies one way or the other. And your delivery of your product key is within about 2 minutes in most cases. So if you don't see anything from them, you may have mistyped your email. You might want to log back in and just look at your purchase history, where it will keep your purchase history, including your product key, indefinitely. So if 5 years, 6 years, 8 years from now, you want to go back and look for a specific product key, if you're like me and you've purchased 50 or 60 of them in the last couple of months, there's a record of every purchase you ever made with the date, the product you purchased, and your product key available to you at any time. But you do have 6 months for support. After that, you got to figure it out on your own if you have any troubles. And that's more than almost any other key seller I've ever seen in my career offers for support. In fact, most of them, it's kind of a as-is deal. So with these folks, it is not as is, it is guaranteed. All right, so with that, all the links containing the link to the website and the discount code of Carey gets you an additional 25% off. You're just going to put that discount code right in there, right in that box with the on the left that's highlighted, and then you're going to save 25% in addition to their already low prices. And we thank them for making sure that we have this to offer to all of our viewers. Because quite frankly, if they said, no, your viewers have to pay the same as everybody else, well, we wouldn't be discussing them. So we really appreciate that they go out of their way to take care of you guys. And hopefully, if and when you guys need a key or know somebody who needs a key, you can steer them to a definitive key seller that's got your back, instead of rolling the dice and hoping you get a key that works. And if you don't, well, you know, that's your problem to figure out with most of the key sellers. So just bear that in mind when you're making a purchasing decision. Finding key sellers that do this is, well, you try and find one that'll support the keys, because it was a real challenge for me to find an alternative. Because even the key seller I used to buy from said they had support, but their support wasn't. They said it, but they didn't actually do it. All right, so with that, I'll give a shout out here to our friend Alan Lindos, who kicks us off with a generous super chat here at $37.77. He says, hello, chat, Carey and Mara. Got to catch up on the new minis and gadgets. Right on. Well, thank you, Alan. Thank you to Buster, our friend Peter Laycock, joining us from Scotland, sends an Amazon gift card as his super chat. And he also just sent 5 gift memberships. Those memberships are $10 a month. And I do believe the way that this works is that YouTube, when you buy gift memberships, I don't think you can designate who they go to. I think YouTube determines who is worthy based on how often and how active they're in the chat room. And those that are most often, most active, get memberships rewarded to them that are gifted by other members. So it's really cool, very generous for Buster, Peter Laycock, to do that. So it looks like he just gave a membership over to Ruben Uremian, Bill Holmes, Andrew Hurst, Morgan, and Teresa Reyes. All got gift memberships from our good friend Buster out there in Scotland. Thank you so much, Buster, and welcome in new members. That gives you access to our video library going back to 2009, and it gives you access to our members-only Monday videos that are never made public, and it gets you priority support. So if you need anything, you email us. We make sure we take care of you first and foremost. In time remaining, if there's time remaining, we do our best to answer everybody's questions regardless of membership status. But membership status gets you high priority. And yeah, welcome in. Our friend Buster says, we usually get a weather report from Scotland. Hold on, I'm looking for it. It's in here somewhere. There he is. Temperature in Edinburgh right now, 51 degrees Fahrenheit or 10.5 degrees Celsius. And you know, here in Phoenix, all thunderstorms and lightning all night. Flash flood warnings. I think it's also the same in Las Vegas. We're getting a ton of rain, which is pretty common this time of year, but not usually for this many days in a row. It's been threatening rain every day, and we've been getting a little of it, but it really started big storms last night, and it went on all night long. So I look out my window and I see puddles outside, and if it doesn't rain, they'll evaporate in about before the end of this broadcast. But it does bring the weather cooler, and it also knocks all the dust out of the air, so the air is cleaner, smells better, and yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining. Bring on the rain. Arizona, it's particularly Phoenix in the valley, we don't get enough of it. So this is the time when we get calls from customers about electronics failing. One of the worst things that can happen, of course, would be like a lightning strike that happens like right next to your building, because a lightning strike emits a large electrical magnetic pulse. And that'll shut down anything. Like, it doesn't even matter what kind of surge protector you have. It's a large magnetic pulse, and if you're within, I don't know, probably 30 to 100 feet of it, any electronics device can get fried. So that's not fun, because you might think, oh, my surge protector didn't protect me. No, it didn't happen from a surge. From the traditional power lines. It happened from the surge of the magnetic pulse in the air. In fact, if you want to learn more about the danger of electromagnetic pulses and the fears about a war using very large electromagnetic pulse devices that can disrupt everything running on electronics, which is pretty much all society uses now, it'll shut it all down, and I mean permanently damage it. There's no rebooting that. Basically, circuit boards have to be replaced. So, you know, you can never tell where lightning's going to strike, and if you just happen to be unlucky enough, and you notice a couple of things in your place stop working, and it's not limited to computers. It could be appliances, dishwashers, washing machines, dryers, air conditioners. So depending on how severe the electromagnetic pulse is, it can get very expensive. But that's where insurance kicks in, you know. So be aware that is a thing. You can't see it, you can't feel it, but your electronics sure know it's there when it's there. That happened to me once back in the late 90s. An electromagnetic pulse took out every network card I had. It was not a power spike. The lights never went out or anything like that. And even one of the cables in the walls went bad, which I can't even explain. But it would never go to gigabit until I replaced the cable. That was weird, But yeah, the router, the switch, and every network card in the computers back then, we had to change every single one of them out. They were unrepairable or not worth repairing. And I wouldn't have believed it. It's like, that's not a thing. Oh yeah, it is. And you can learn more about the power of electromagnetic pulses. Police could even potentially use them to stop a car that's running from the police. They could, if they get within probably 100, 150 feet of it. They have devices that they're in Europe, I don't think they are allowed in the United States, that when they press the button and it sends out the EMP, the electromagnetic pulse, it shuts the car engine off. And then the car doesn't go anywhere. So that'd be really cool to see that deployed. Unfortunately, you may have a lot of collateral damage if there's any cars around you. But it's very effective. It is a thing. And if you want to learn more about it, just type in dangers of EMP here in YouTube and have at it. Right. This time of year, it kind of brings up that subject matter. I don't normally discuss it because we don't get rain very often. And when we do, it's not, the valley, Phoenix is a big area. So the idea that lightning would be striking next to where you live or where you are is highly unlikely. But yeah, about once every 10 or 20 years. It's been my experience. All right. That being said, 3D Everything says hello. There's Mark Gaines saying hello, as well as Scott. Rick Lake says hello. Anthony Pete, Eddie Casanova, and John Williams. David Graham saying hello, as well as Ben Laird, also from Scotland, joins us and says hello. There's Mara, our channel administrator, hanging out in the chat saying hello to everybody. Doman 2000 and Nicholas Barlow saying hello. Welcome in, guys. Caniac 44 along with Thomas Mac T. I also see Andy W6AD. There's Reupen and Bill Holmes, Andrew Hurst, and Morgan, all joining us here in the chat. Teresa Reyes and Dennis K says hello. We'll just say Dennis. I think he's the only Dennis we have in there today. Bill Sony saying hello, along with David Herzog and Glenn's Music. And Spider-Man the Hero joins us, says hello. Matt says hello. And Bobby Hurd joining us. Welcome in, Bobby. John Lewis from Brazil saying hello in the chat room. Dazzle555 and Elijah52 Dickens, Wild Soul, and Jose Lopez. We got a full chat room today. Taffer says hello, as does Gary Bickle and Lou Greenio. Mark Gaines renewed his membership, now a member for 41 months. 41, that's the first 41 I've seen. Wow, 41 months. I'm so proud to support this channel. Thanks for all you do, Carey. We've only had channel memberships on for 41 months. So that tells you a little something about Mark Gaines. And we thank you so much that it appears he likes us. And we like you too. Luke Greeny, also a member for 41 months today. He goes, man, time flies by when you're having fun, right? For sure. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Mark. All right. So let me see. Today, we're looking at this laptop manufacturer, and they also make mini PCs. They're called Nemo. And Nemo assembles their computers here in the USA. They give you a 2-year warranty, which is, I believe, extendable an additional year if you register the device. If you buy direct from Nemo, they give you a 30-day return policy. A 90-day return policy. Yeah. Whatever they can do to make it right, you got 90 days. You know, if you buy it from Amazon, and they do sell on Amazon, you can go through Amazon's 30-day return process. You know, peace of mind if you don't like what you've purchased, or buyer's remorse, or whatever reason it is. Amazon doesn't care. Nemo, on the other hand, they do care. They want to see what they can do to make it right. They want to keep you as a customer if they can. And, you know, if there is no making it right, and you're just like, look, I just want to return it. Well, if that's what it takes to keep you happy, then Nemo will do that 3 times longer than Amazon will. So There are some advantages from buying direct from Nemo, given that you're buying it from a company that is in the United States. You're not getting it from a Chinese company where you might have to send things back to China. In fact, Nemo has a USA repair depot as well, meaning that if anything needed to go in for a repair, you would be sending it within the US. You would not be sending it outside of the US, which right now is a big mess. It was always complicated before, but now it's like tariffs and import and export fees. It's like ridiculous. So keep that in mind when you're looking for that really cheap bargain on Amazon. And once you're past your 30 days, there are brands out there that have no website, no emails, but that doesn't stop them from selling computers on Amazon. Once you exceed that 30 days, that's a garage sale, man. You're on your own as is, deal with it. Hope you enjoyed your savings. But just because Nemo offers all this, and this is the part that makes Nemo stand out for me, is you would think the prices would adjust to accommodate for that additional support, return period, warranty. But the prices go the other way. In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to find a similarly equipped computer, even on AliExpress, without any support for these kind of prices. So I don't know how that works, but I want to show you this laptop because we traditionally, when we talk about this, we're always typically looking at the budget machines, especially as the end of Windows 10 official support is 4 days away. Of course, you can extend that for 12 months, but nonetheless, a lot of people just want to get to Windows 11. If you extend your Windows 10 support for another 12 months, you're just prolonging the inevitable. Just rip the Band-Aid off already. It's not like you got a computer that's any spring chicken that's running Windows 10. All right, so when we look over here at the Nemo laptop, in the video notes, Mara has added links. And I'm going to go there right now, right underneath the video. I'm going to look at the video notes, and I see the NeuraBook 17, and there we have two links, one that takes you to Nemo, the official link, one that takes you to Amazon. So let's go take a look at the official link and see how Nemo is promoting this and how much money they want, etc. So let's jump over here to my window capture. Let's look at it together because these videos are live, unscripted, and unrehearsed. I have really no hands-on prior to this, no rehearsal, no information prior to this other than pretty much what I'm going to show you right now. So you and I can be on the same page when I start this unboxing. The Nemo is this one is a 17.3-inch laptop. It features an AMD Ryzen AI 9 HX370. This is a really nice CPU to be using. There are a couple higher than this, but this is the highest end Nemo I've ever seen. And I was very impressed so far with all the mini PCs we've received featuring this chip. It's no slouch. Furthermore, this has a 144 Hz refresh rate on the screen, so that makes it a much more viable contender for gaming. Now, one of the things Nemo does that I absolutely love and can't believe is they will sell you a laptop without any RAM or storage or operating system and remove the cost of those items, and you can build your own. So there's two colors here. We have black and we have blue. And you'll see that this would be a bare bones model that comes with no RAM and no solid state drive, and therefore no operating system. As such, the price is reduced to $760, which is, is a crazy low price when you consider it's got this chip. That chip alone is, just to buy that from AMD is quite pricey. Now, let's say you're like, look, I don't want to open the laptop and put my own RAM and storage in. Well, as you can see up here, the price will change. If we want 16 gigs of A-data RAM with a 1 terabyte Kingston drive with Windows 11 on it, $849. So it's only $100 more. And then you can bundle it with a 2 terabyte drive instead for another $70. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. If 1 terabyte is adding that much money and you double that to 2 terabytes, it's only adding $70, and you're only at $919 for effectively a very high-end, well-equipped machine. Now, of course, you could also bundle it with 32 gig and with 64 gig, and you'll see the price changes accordingly. So fully maxed out with 64 gigs of RAM and we go to 4 terabytes. This would be fully loaded. I mean, that's no slouch. 64 gigs of RAM, 4 terabytes of storage, and you're still under $1,200. If you price out how much 64 gigs of RAM is, along with how much this 4 terabyte drive is, along with how much this particular chip is, never mind the cost of the monitor, I think you'll soon realize that's a hell of a deal. And if it's too rich for your blood, just adjust it to whatever fits your needs or desires of your budget. I've never seen a laptop manufacturer that's this accommodating at these prices. Usually that's reserved for higher end machines with a lot more profit margin. And the fact that they do that, I'm not even aware of a laptop you can buy bare bones. I know you can buy like a framework laptop, but that's definitely not a budget laptop. So we learn a little bit about the installed, if you have the RAM in storage. USB-C 4.0 with 100 watt power delivery and charging, and eGPU support. Of course, it's got a fingerprint login and a backlit keyboard. And they do offer an extended warranty. They offer a USB 3-in-1 hub, and they offer an additional laptop charger. Now, a lot of companies will charge you $90 to $100 for their laptop chargers. Not Nemo. Look at that. Even their accessories are cheap. Scroll down a little bit more, and these are the details. Wi-Fi 6E. Everything else we already mentioned. It's got surround sound. It is partially assembled in the USA, so not fully assembled. Windows 11 Home is what's installed, and if you're not logging into a server at work, I can't see any reason why you would want Windows 11 Pro. I don't see that as a downside at all. Most people can't tell I would say nearly everyone can't tell the difference. And the ones who can, they're here on the internet that'll tell you as much. But in the real world, you'll meet very few people outside of IT circles that could really tell a difference. All right, return policy here. You may return any new Nemo product for any reason within 90 days. No special explanations or RMA authorizations are required. We will cover all return shipping costs. Refunds will be issued to your original payment method. Now, Nemo also sells refurbished products here too. So if you're looking for an even bigger savings, maybe not on a brand new model that just came out like what we're looking at today, but models that came out months ago that may have been returned for reasons that have nothing to do with the machine, they will discount it, and it'll be in their, let's see, right here under refurbished products. You can look and see, and that inventory constantly changes. So if you don't see anything of interest today, always go back to their website and check regularly. It's a first come, first serve inventory quantity of 1 usually of each item. Now, getting back over here as we take a look at, again, there's our specifications here. I think I covered all this. This is only going to go 1080 on the laptop screen, just so you know. The graphics built into the AI 370 is the 890M Radeon graphics. They're using Kingston NVMe as the NVMe drive. And ADATA, the RAM is DDR5, in case you were wondering. The battery is a 75 watt hour, 15.4 volt, 4,870 milliamp hour. It's about 15.5 hours of mixed usage battery life. And if you really, like, we're just sitting there passively watching a movie on an airplane, you could go 19.2 hours. This has a Neuro processor in it, so an NPU that does 50 trillion operations per second, and that's for AI processes, which most of you probably aren't even really utilizing. But if it looks like what's happening is actually going to happen, a lot of software you install will use it if you have it. So Adobe products, Microsoft Office, PDF files, like everything, all these software manufacturers will check and see if you have an NPU, and if you do, offer enhanced features or faster performance with any AI-based features they add to their software. And that may not mean much to you right now because you may not have any point of reference, but you'll see. We'll scroll down here and they've got a couple reviews. Of course, this is on their website. Now, if we go take a look at Amazon, we go back over to our link today. You scroll down here, it says Amazon. That's the link I'm using. And here you'll see the AI 9 HX370, same laptop. Here they're showing it in blue. And it shows it's on a limited time deal for $999.99. Now this is the one equipped with 32 gigs of RAM, DDR5, and a 1 terabyte drive. And again, you can see the prices change as you select different configurations. And they offer it in Obsidian Black and Celestial Blue. And if we scroll down, are there any reviews? We should be one of the earliest to have this. Wow, how the heck did they get this in May? Wow, I guess this laptop's been out a little longer than I thought. This one's going even earlier. Everybody seems real happy with Nemo. You know, if I never find a negative review, I'm always skeptical. Like, is it too good? But we only have 15 reviews here. And I can't look at that one. Okay. That does seem to be, certainly, that the majority of people are quite happy with it. Will you be happy with it? Only you can answer that question. I can't answer it. But I have no hesitation in recommending this laptop for business clients or friends looking for a really good value with a solid warranty in a company that's based here in the US. That's the way I look at it. That's the way they've always been. So this is what I'm expecting when I unbox this. I'm expecting that same great build quality, the same great support if we have any questions. They've always been very gracious and very quick to respond to us and very eager to provide a solution to make us happy. That's what they ultimately want. If you're not happy, it's like, what can we possibly do to make you happy? If there's something about the machine you bought from us you don't like, what can we do to make it better? And if you're one of those people that's like, there's nothing you can do, just give me my money back, well, so be it. They won't fight with you on it. If that's what it's going to take, they really want to keep you as a customer. They really, really, honestly and truly, they want to keep you as a customer because they want you to refer them. They're a small company. They need those referrals. But on the other hand, if all they do is poke an angry bear with a stick, well, that's the opposite of what they're trying to do. So I want you to understand where their perspective is, in that they're not being reluctant. If you say, hey, I want my money back, and they say, well, is there, what can we do? It's not that they're being reluctant to give you your money back. They're trying to figure out what's wrong. And if it's anything wrong that they can control, they'll be more than happy to make it right. But if there's nothing they've done, maybe your circumstances have changed and there's nothing to do with them, you just, whatever. You don't need it, you don't want it. They won't argue or fight with you on that. But they don't assume that when you call or you email for, wanting to return something. Unlike Amazon, Amazon doesn't care. You want to return something, send it back. They don't care. Nemo cares. And they want to make sure that they haven't upset you in some way. And if so, what did they do? And they want to learn from that and make it right. So please understand that's not a reluctance to giving you your return. They absolutely will. All right. So it's really a great attitude from customer service. Now, if you've ever had to deal with Gmail and you ever needed to reach out to support, you know what I'm saying? Anything to do with Google or YouTube, you just get ignored. It's almost become the normal today for corporations to just ignore customers because the world has gotten much smaller, in the sense that what used to be localized services with, people in your community purchasing and dealing with a particular local company, these companies are now global, hiring as few employees as possible to increase profit as much as possible and lower the prices as much as possible to get as many buyers as possible all over the world. As you can imagine, there's a price that's paid for that in other ways, and that's usually with most tech companies today, that price is in the quality of support. And I think you already know this. Are we ready to unbox our Nimo NeuraLink? Let me get the title right. Nimo NeuraBook. NeuraLink is a whole nother thing, Carey. The Nimo NeuraBook 17 unboxing. Before I open this, another thing I love about Nemo is they don't mail you a bunch of garbage, like stuff that's in the box you're never going to use, a bunch of manuals you're never going to read, a bunch of accessories you're paying for but you didn't ask for. You're basically going to have two things in this box: a laptop, a power brick, and of course the power cable. And then maybe like a little get to know the laptop guide. That's it, nothing more. No additional waste going into the landfill. That also means no additional cost for you. I wish this was a law. I wish every manufacturer had to just include what you needed and not a bunch of advertising for other things you could buy or accessories you don't want or need. And because it's a voluntary choice the company makes, this company is making the common sense choice of saying, hey, let's keep the price down. Let's keep the waste out of the landfills. And you can see the way they pack them. They've got a piece of styrofoam here and here. That's protecting the screen. So when it's being shipped in the truck, if it's getting other boxes put on top of it, they do everything they can to make sure that your laptop that you get, that arrives, looks exactly the same as it did when it came off the factory floor. I mean, that's what every company's goal is, but sometimes the amount of waste packaging is so over the top and ridiculous. Sometimes throwing the boxes away, they have to be all cut up. They won't even fit in a recycle bin. You ever order anything from Amazon like that's this big and they put it in a box? I know you have. Nemo doesn't do that. All right, so here, this box should have our power brick in there. Let's see. There's our power cable and a power brick. That's all that's in there. Remember what I said. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Finally, what's remaining is the laptop itself, so I'm going to just pull that straight up. And I'll just leave the styrofoam in the box. Okay, take it out first. Yeah, we'll just keep all that together. There's our laptop. There's also probably a screen protector between the screen and keyboard during shipping. There it is right there. And what I'm going to do is clean up some desk space so we can plug this in and turn it on and see what our first boot looks like. So I'm just going to stick all this in here, including this. We'll get this off the bench so we have some room to work. Now, when it comes to the power brick, this is just like a cell phone charger. In fact, if you have a USB-C cell phone, which most of us do, you can use this one adapter to power your laptop. And when your laptop's all powered, then take this cable, plug it into your phone. You don't need all these things plugged in the wall. Unless, of course, you're trying to charge up multiple things at the same time. But if I were traveling and I wanted to bring a laptop and my phone and my charger, my shaver and my toothbrush, and it's all USB-C rechargeable, as long as I can just charge one thing at a time here, you know. And since the laptop supports power delivery, while I'm charging the laptop, if I had another cable, I could then charge something else from the laptop into, say, a phone, or, you know, it makes packing for a trip a lot less stressful. Your luggage won't be as heavy, and you don't have to worry about forgetting one of your chargers. If you only have one charger, it's a lot easier to remember to take it and not leave it in the hotel. Now check this out. One of the complaints I have with cheaper computers is they often give you a pretty short cable, maybe like that. This cable, on the other hand, is probably, well, it's longer than my wingspan, so it's got to be at least, I would guess, 6 feet. And both ends are the same, so it doesn't matter which end you plug into the adapter. And the adapter has the Nemo logo on it, so you know it goes with the laptop. And I'll just plug that in down here. Now, normally when you receive something with a battery, the battery isn't going to be charged or fully charged. So the first thing I want to do is charge it up. Now, taking a look, we've got, let's go over here. We've got the ports that were described on the website on this side here. This is going to be my left side. And nothing on the back because it's so thin. This is just hinge. And come around to the other side here. You'll see the memory card reader, 2 USB type A's, a headphone/headset jack, and a Kensington lock port right there. So it's like a, think of it like a bicycle lock that keeps somebody from stealing your bicycle. That lock goes in that hole, goes into the metal frame of the laptop. They'd have to basically cut the lock before they could ever get this free if you were worried about theft. And so all I'm going to do, usually the USB port closest to the back, that's almost universally on all laptops, the charging port. And then when we plug it in, you'll see a light come on here that is orange or amber, and that'll likely go green or blue typically when it's fully charged. Now, we don't have to wait for it to be fully charged to start using it, unless we want to use it on the battery. But as long as we're plugged in, then we're good to go as far as just start using it. And that's still charging while we're using it. So if I turn this around towards you, I'm going to open this lid up. And you have a pretty nice size screen here. The laptop I use is only 16 point something inches. This one's a good inch diagonal bigger, which adds quite a lot of space. For me, it seems really big. We have a power button right here. Press. I'm checking to see if I pressed it. Sometimes you have to press and hold it a minute. I can't tell if the button has an LED on it or not. It's supposed to be a backlit keyboard. Oh, there's lights over here on the side. You see 2 lights, a blue and an orange. And let me just face it this way. And there it goes. It's just now starting to boot. That first boot up, something brand new computer, laptop, mini, desktop, whatever you have, that first boot up may take a little bit longer since it's been off for quite some time before you receive it. In fact, the same would be true if you would put this laptop on a shelf for a few months. You go to take it down, it might seem a little slower at boot up than what you were used to. It's just that initial training period that it goes through for the RAM and CPU that needs to be refreshed if it hasn't been turned on in a while. After that, it'll boot up much, much faster. And Bill Sony just renewed his membership, now a member for 16 months. Carey and Mara, he says, have a great day. The mini PC that he received is still working great. He uses it with music and movies and surfing the web. It's running in the background. Thank you again. Well, we're glad you're enjoying it. Thanks for the update. And thank you for renewing your membership, Bill. Richard DeFries joins us and says hello here in the chat. If you're watching us live right now, please say hello in the chat room. We'd love to hear from you. Let me grab my glasses so I can see. And let's see if we can get video output out of this. This does have an... Your device using screen reader. Turn on narrative by pressing Windows plus Control plus Enter. That's your typical... Press Windows. Select the access icon. Bottom corner. This is pretty common on a laptop when setting up Windows the first time. Because laptops have built-in speakers, you'll often hear something you don't normally hear on a desktop during your initial Windows setup. Now I'm going to try and see if, when we plug this in here, if I can grab the screen and send it off to you. Let's see what happens right now. Does it work? Ah, thank goodness. A lot of times those HDMI ports on laptops only work once Windows is loaded, so you won't see it in the BIOS or in a pre-driver installation. Like you did a clean install of Windows, and if you didn't automatically get your video driver, your HDMI port won't work until you do. Not all laptops work that way, but more and more that's becoming the norm. So now I can turn the laptop around so I can see it, and I'm just going to grab the touchpad and we're going to continue in English. We're going to be in the United States, US keyboard, no secondary language on the keyboard. I'm not connecting to the internet. Notice it said I didn't have internet there. Accept the license agreement. We'll put a username of Nemo. Leave the password blank, and I'll leave my location settings on, and it's going to correct the date and time automatically. Once we connect it to the network, it'll take care of that for us, unless I turn location settings off. Okay, hit next and accept. And now it's setting up Windows 11 Home for its very first use. And everything you're looking at is normal. There's no bloatware, there's no trialware. It's just what comes from Microsoft. That's the other thing I really appreciate about Nemo, is they're not trying to make money on the back end the way other major laptop manufacturers do, by throwing in a ton of things you don't want, consuming your hard drive space, and then you've got to debloat the Windows. Windows, as a pure install from Microsoft, does not contain any bloat, despite content creators calling unwanted little shortcuts as bloat. I don't know what their definition of bloat is, but bloat for me means big and heavy. So any applications like third-party antiviruses or any sort of trialware that's not a normal part of Windows, that is what I would call bloat, because that's more resource intensive, and it's not a part or function of Microsoft Windows, but that of a third party, being whoever the third party software is. As such, as you can see, we just have a clean Windows 11 installation. There is no bloatware on any clean install of Windows 11. It's just not a thing. And again, many content creators, they will call it bloatware because that gets them more clicks, but that's not what it is. All right, that Microsoft has never included quote unquote bloatware. It's only the third-party manufacturers who do that. They make deals to get paid to throw advertising on the new machine you just bought. Isn't that nice of them to use you as a not as a guinea pig. They're using you as a way for them to make more money when you already gave them your money. It wasn't enough. So the manufacturer will make a deal with an antivirus manufacturer. Quite often you'll see Norton and McAfee participating in this process. And they go, look, we did you a favor. You don't have to worry about finding an antivirus. The truth is, though, Microsoft's built-in antivirus is just fine, and you don't have to pay for it. So, again, a huge shout out to our friends at Nemo for having that level of courtesy. It's almost as though, and I want you to just imagine this for a second, it's almost as though the people running the company or making the decisions for this company are selling the machines the way they'd want to buy them if they were the consumer. In other words, if I had to guess, and I haven't interviewed Nemo, I get a strong sense that they got sick and tired of getting all the trialware and bloatware, not being able to configure the laptop the way they wanted to, and having it cost way too much, that they said enough is enough. Let's make a laptop, let's sell a laptop at a reasonable price with great support, a great return policy, zero bloatware. Let's put our customer first, and the profits will follow. But most companies today, it's profits first and to hell with the customers. And I don't know how that's sustainable. But if I had to guess, I would not be surprised if we talked to the founder of Nemo and they said, I got sick and tired of ordering from the big name brands, paying high dollar and getting, moderate to terrible support, having to remove all this bloatware, and then it doesn't come equipped the way I want it, so I have to open it up and change the RAM that I just paid for, or change the solid state drive, because they won't sell it to me without it, and they don't offer it the way I want it. So I decided to start my own company and do that, and then not charge people an arm and a leg for it, and not go to third-party software vendors to try and make up extra profit by throwing this unwanted software onto my customer's laptop. That's so disrespectful. It'd be like if a car dealer sold you a brand new car, but they were using the trunk for storage. And the storage items were like a partial safety kit, like a partial tire repair kit. And it'll only fix a certain kind of flat. After that, you got to pay money to use it. And by the way, there's no space left in your trunk, or very limited space for you to actually use it that you paid for it. So you have to take that limited emergency trial kit for a flat tire, throw it into the trash can, it goes into the landfill, and get your trunk space back. When manufacturers, when they throw that bloatware, that trialware on, they're the ones doing it, not Microsoft. Now, one of the things you'll find on this laptop, and on many Nemo laptops, is there is no Ethernet jack on it. And the reason for that is the laptop's very thin. The Ethernet jack would it would have to somehow extend the lid, or this platform here, in order to get the Ethernet jack to fit. And most people, they want a laptop because it's portable, and last I checked, a wired Ethernet cable isn't going to let you be too portable. You can go the length of your leash. So if you want to be without a leash, you run it off batteries and you run it on Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. But what if you're like, look, I'm just going to put this on the desk. I just prefer this over a traditional computer. I'm going to leave it plugged in 100% of the time. Is that okay? Of course that's okay. Okay, but I don't want to run Wi-Fi. I just want to plug I want to plug Ethernet into it. You go on Amazon, and for about $10 to $20, you buy a USB to Ethernet adapter. These already have drivers. Windows already has drivers for these. They use standard chipsets. And if for some reason you just happen to pick one that doesn't, return it back to Amazon and order a different one. Read the reviews. Every one I've got, Windows automatically sees it. Windows 10 and Windows 11. So as soon as I plug it in here, I'll just plug it in right there for the sake of it. Now I have an Ethernet jack. Then I can grab my Ethernet cable, which again, we never plug or connect into the internet during Windows setup. We always do that without an internet connection so that we can get to our boot up faster and that we can create a local user account. Now that's how I do it, and this is the proper order. And when I don't have an Ethernet jack, I just add one. And also, you know, maybe you have slow Wi-Fi and you don't want to wait forever for any Windows updates. So you just use this temporarily for fast downloads, fast updates. And then when it's all done, then you put it back on Wi-Fi. You have lots of options. Now, let's go back over to our desktop here. And you'll see this is all just the Windows basic install. We go over to settings. I'm just curious. We go into apps. You're not going to see, you know, any Norton or McAfee or anything like that. Now, I am not a huge fan of this. If there is a complaint I have, the way that Microsoft used to offer trials for like their Office 365 product is they would have manufacturers who sell worldwide. They would have them install this 8 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, covering the 8 most common languages. So the same laptop that's sold here in America can be sold in the Middle East, like in Saudi Arabia. So there's a language version there. Well, Microsoft doesn't do this anymore. This is kind of an old-fashioned method. And I suspect the people designing the system images just haven't kept up. Now, Microsoft Windows 11 comes with a universal, it'll just say Office 365, and that is determined based on your region that you selected during install. So this is an old carryover from the days of Yonder. And, you know, listen, if you look at how much drive space this takes up, if there was any criticism I have with Nemo, is that they're still living in the past when it comes to doing this. This is an old-fashioned way of offering Office. And if we take a look at Like, how much drive space does all this take up? Because it's actually, well, I'll just show you. We'll go to this PC, and we'll right-click on our C drive and go to Properties. And I want you to remember we're using 52, almost 53 gigs of space right here, which is rounded down here to 49.2. So I'm just going to remember 53. I'm going to try to remember it. And then we're going to go to uninstall every one of these. So I hit the 3 dots, uninstall, uninstall, yes. And one of the frustrations when you go to uninstall these different languages is the uninstallers come up with questions that are in the language. So like this one would be Deutsch. This is English Great Britain, English US, English Spanish. This will be French. PT. Trying to remember what that language is. And then there's also Canada. And if I go here, I don't know why I'm not seeing the uninstalls start for that other one. We should be getting a pop-up here. I am not seeing. And down here, it's already downloaded some updates. Also, while it's downloading the updates, let's just take a look at our version of Windows and our build. So right-click on the Start button. Let's go to System. And there's our processor. There's our RAM. We've got, obviously, the 32 gig version. Windows 11 Home 24H2. So, you know, 25H2 just came out October 1st. I wouldn't expect this to have that on there. And then, of course, Nemo's contact information for support. A lot of shadier manufacturers leave this empty, and you got to figure it out on your own. Let's go back to Windows Update. I'm wondering if maybe because of these updates, I'm not able to do that uninstall. Back to Apps, Installed. So we have 8 of those Microsoft 365s. And this one is the one that comes with Windows 11 that universally adapts to whatever language your OS is on. That's why you don't need all of these. This replaces it, and it's replaced it for some time. They consider the people who do their images as experts, and if they knew any better, they'd know their experts were behind the times. But companies trust their experts. They assume the expert is keeping up. And in this case, it looks like they're trusting somebody who has convinced them that this is how it's done, and they don't know enough to know that that's not the way it's done anymore. So we're just providing that information to make them aware that they might want to get somebody else to do this, or insist that the person that's in charge of creating their images get themselves up to date with not doing this, because quite frankly, it's taking up quite a bit of drive space to have 8 installs of 365, and then you're going to have 8 installs of OneNote. And to take these all out, you have to do them one at a time. And to place that burden on your customer, most customers don't even know it's in there. And the end result is they're using, you know, upwards of 20 gigs of hard drive space for this. Because nobody's, highly unlikely anybody's going to use more than one language. You got to pick one. And the others, they don't self-uninstall. They just stay there forever. So there's no reason for this anymore. It's outdated. And we strongly encourage them to stop this process just out of courtesy for the customer. They do everything else out of courtesy for the customer. Their return period, their pricing, the fact that you can get this bare bones and so many configurations. This is inconsistent with the rest of everything else they're doing that's so customer focused. This is no longer customer focused. I'm sure the person who did it probably says, oh yeah, this is very customer focused. I'm imagining what their argument is, because, you know, that way if somebody's in France, we don't make them have to go and get it themselves. But in the meantime, the other 7 languages that person in France doesn't need is consuming the very resources that person in France just paid for. And it's back to that stuff in the trunk of a car. If you never look in the trunk, you'd never know your gas mileage is being affected, and the thing you bought is being used in a way that you were not aware of. So I'm just raising awareness on this, and I highly encourage the folks at Nemo to reconsider whoever made that decision just to at the very least, just get updated with their knowledge. The knowledge they have is, this was the way they used to do it back in the day, but not today. No longer a thing. Okay, so I just want to see how we're doing over here. We've got the cumulative update coming in. And if I want to see the device manager, I'll take a look at who makes that Wi-Fi adapter. Remember, this has no Ethernet adapter. So when I click on network adapters and you see this Realtek Gaming, it says USB. That's the one I just plugged in. That's mine. But we've got an RZ616. That's a Wi-Fi 6E adapter. And who makes this? MediaTek makes it. Now, of course, I can restart right now if I want to, but you'll see it's still busy, right? And so if I restart now, it's just going to do this all over again when we come back up. So why not just wait a minute, let it finish, and reboot one time less more often than you would need to by being impatient. It's actually going to take you longer if you're impatient. That's why I prefer to let it sit until I see everything is done. Just because it can restart doesn't mean that's a good idea at that time. Use your eyes. Use your brain, look at what's happening, and if you want to, go right ahead. It's allowed, but just bear in mind you're going to start over with these two again, and all you're doing is prolonging the inevitable, and then if these two need an update, you'll be doing another restart again. So why not just do it once? Be patient. Haste makes waste, but you'll be okay either way. If you got all day and all the time in the world, and you don't mind, you just like to watch it reboot, have at it. That's not how I do things. All right, let me get back over to camera one, and let's see if you guys have any questions for me here about the Nemo laptop as we wait for the updates. I think once the updates are done and we restart, then I should be able to go through those Microsoft Office packages, uninstall them, and then see what our disk space is. I'm going to guess it'll be about 20 gigs less. I think we're going to be somewhere between 33 and 40. So that would be between 13 and 20 gigs of free space or freed up space from applications we don't want. We'll never want them. We didn't ask for them. And Nemo thinks they're doing you a service, and I disagree. Completely disagree with that. If I haven't made that clear, and even when I love a product, I got to tell you, that doesn't just give them a pass to make them exempt from anybody else that would do this. So I don't say this to criticize, I say it to help, because I do believe customers find more value by simply leaving Windows 11 alone. Microsoft takes care of all the language stuff for you. It's in Microsoft's best interest to say, listen, let us do our job. We got this. We can make the sale in China. We can make the sale in France. We don't need you to do this. We used to, but we don't anymore. And who's ever doing this never got that message. Okay. Have I beaten that horse to death? Ask me how I really feel. I mean, it's a little annoyance. Like, they're so close to perfect, so close. John Paul Bacon thinks maybe the PT is Portugal. Well, Portugal, they speak Portuguese. Also Brazil, they speak Portuguese. Maybe. I'm sure Google could answer that question. Paul Connolly joins us from Down Under. And Viper30 joining us in the chat says hello. MX says, what are the differences that you've noticed between Windows 10 and Windows 11? A lot of security differences. So if you don't care about being hacked, if you don't care about being vulnerable when you're connected to the internet, then the differences probably won't really matter to you. But if you actually, if you're the kind of person that closes and locks your doors to your house or to your car, as long as Windows 10 is getting updates, you're still pretty good, but Windows 11 is far more secure online. So if you don't care about your security, then, it's really not much difference other than that. That's the primary reason for Windows 11. And that's why it won't work on older computers. They don't have the technology to, the hackers are going to be using the latest technology to hack you, all right? Just like you think of a modern day war between countries. If your country insists that sharpened sticks and wooden boards have always defended your country, and you refuse to acknowledge that that's not good enough, it used to be good enough. You've got a history to prove. You won wars with sharp sticks. This isn't history anymore. Your enemies are now using laser-guided missiles and drones. And if you're too stubborn to recognize the threat that ends your existence, well, I suppose that's Darwinian law at work. Now, if you take it offline, if you don't plug it into the internet or you're not Wi-Fi on the internet, well, then it doesn't matter. That's about it. Other than, the aesthetic way that things look. Mustang Mike and Channel 0 join us. Say hello. MX says bloatware for me would be anything I do not want or need. Yeah, so if I told the doctor I felt bloated, explain that to the doctor, what you mean by that. I don't like to have different reasoning. When I use the word bloat with computers, I mean anything I don't want or need. But when I use the word bloat in literally any other subject matter in life, I mean it's gotten bigger, heavier, uncomfortable. So I like to be consistent with how I use words. But that's just me. I mean, if that's what you want to call it. You could call a car a bus. There goes a bus. That's a car. No, I call it a bus. Okay. You certainly could do that. Let me come over here for a second. Let me get back over to the screen because the screen just went to sleep on me and I want to change that from happening while we're live. So I'm going to come down here and type edit power plan right there. And while it's plugged in, we can leave that on for about 2 hours and never ever put the computer to sleep. When it's on battery, that's a different story. We obviously want to preserve our battery as much as possible. But when we're plugged in, yeah, I don't see any reason for that. Also, we're live and I don't want the screen turning off when we're talking about, if I'm pointing at something on the screen, I want you to see it, and you think that something's wrong with the computer or the connection, it creates a lot of confusion, and it's totally, there's no benefit to it. It's only a downside. So that's why I set it that way. Also, let me go back over here because I just realized a few other things I like to set is to turn this option on here to get the latest updates, go to advanced options, and I go to receive other updates, keep me up to date, and let me know when it's ready for a restart. There also is an optional update I just realized here, and we'll grab that and install it as well. And let's see, look at that. See, that's the very pop-up I told it to bring up. So if I'm in the middle of something, I can just tell it don't do it right now. But since I'm not in the middle of anything and I wanted to know immediately when it was ready to restart, having that notification come up is a box you have to turn on. It's not set that way by default. Okay, so with that, let me jump over back to camera 1 while this reboots. Once it's back up and running again, I'm going to go back into apps and see if I can uninstall all of those. I'm going to take out all 8 Microsoft Office 365s, and I'm going to leave the one Office 365 that Windows 11 comes with that auto-adapts to your specific language of your language and region, I believe. Remember when we started Windows and it asked? Well, the reason why it's asking is it can set different settings within Windows, and that includes the date and time format that your country traditionally uses. We do it a little different here in the US. And again, like with Microsoft Office or applications, that those are automatically loaded into that language and region that you selected during your startup. That makes the other Office 365s redundant, unnecessary, a complete waste of space, and a burden on the consumer that has to, at the very least, remove 7 of those. And in the best of scenarios, they would remove all 8 and not use any of them, and instead use the little shortcut that Windows 11 includes is like 8K. Maybe it's 60, it's nothing. And then that'll take you to the website where you can then answer some questions, and it'll put Office 365 on that you want to pay for, because that's all it's about, is trying to sell you Office 365. Now, let me get back over to the screen because I want to show you what it's saying right now. After this reboot, it wants me to back up. I'm really happy to see Microsoft is putting this into the faces of users, and you know, users are typically going to ignore this, and then they're going to cry and scream and whine about what a victim they are when they lose their stuff. It's never happened before. I meant to do it, never got around to it. It's the same story over and over and over and over and over again. This is the most Microsoft can do, so I'm going to opt out of it for right now, and I'll skip for now, and then that takes us back to our desktop. So the Windows updates are still partially loading. As you can see, a couple of boxes opened and closed there. But while we're waiting, I should be able to get back over to settings and back over to apps, back over to installed apps. And again, I just want to see if I move this over and go to my yellow folder, because I don't know how much those updates have changed our usable space. Trying to get an accurate assessment of how much space all these Microsoft Offices are taking up, because it's no slouch. So still, it looks like about 3 gigs was added through those updates. So we're going to call it 56. That's what I'm going to say. 56 gigs is currently on the drive. We've not done anything to this laptop. We've not customized it where we've installed any software. And let's see if we can take out this office here first. Now you notice I can't read any of this, so I don't know how a normal, typical computer user knows what to do here. As a computer technician familiar with this, uninstall is always the blue button on Microsoft Office. So we're always going to choose the blue button regardless of what it says. And Arabic, it's written from right to left. Just like Hebrew, a Hebrew book would open the opposite way of an English book. And so if that looks like it's in a mirror to you, that's because you don't speak Arabic. And this is, you know, a process that we have to repeat basically 16 times. We've got to do it 8 times for Microsoft Office and 8 times for Microsoft OneNote. And when you're on a pretty budget computer, this is even slower. So we've got a really decently spec'd out computer, and you can still see this is bloatware. And you know, I had just gotten done saying how they don't do this, and yet turns out I spoke too soon. Now that we're done with that one, we'll move to the next language. Uninstall. This will be essentially German. I'll hit yes here. Again, the blue button is the one you want. And we, you know, rinse and repeat until we get through all 16. And I don't want to have to work. I didn't spend my money to buy a laptop, you know, so I can clean it up. It should arrive clean. And then it's up to me to spend the time to mess it up myself. That's my job. I don't want to buy a 4-wheel drive pickup truck that's already muddy. Let me clean off your mud so I can put my own mud on it. Alan Windus is asking Office 365 or just Office loaded? These are all Microsoft 365 here. Microsoft no longer wants to sell you perpetual licenses, so while you can go and locate them yourself, they are not presented to you. Let me look through the chat while we're waiting on these uninstalls. You can suffer through this with me. Then we'll reboot and check our drive space again. We can then have a more accurate assessment of just how much weight we've lost. MX says he wants to know, when choosing a laptop for me, what screen size is the sweet spot for you? I like the 16-inch screen. Yeah, for me, it's the 16-inch. The 13's too small for me to read with my old eyes, but when I was younger, I liked the portability of the 13. Also, with remote access, if a customer's got 2 monitors in 4K and I'm looking at the aspect ratio down onto a 13-inch screen, I can't read nothing. It's just a pointless exercise. So the advent of larger monitors and multiple monitors make it harder with remote access, the advent of remote access, to then squish that all down so that I can see it. If I'm connected to your computer and you're hooked up with a 49-inch monitor that's set at like a 5,000 pixel by 1440, like, you know, the remote software has to squish that down onto whatever screen I'm looking at remotely. Or I go full size and then my screen acts like a little box that moves left and right and up and down to see your whole monitor, which is ridiculously annoying. So, well, I did like 13-inch laptops. I thought I would like a 17, but it's almost impossible to use that on a tray table on a plane. It's just too big. And then 15s were really popular, and 16 seems to be the happy middle. So for me personally, I prefer a 16. And I don't like touchscreens. Not a fan. Unless it's a tablet or a smartphone. But if it has a keyboard, I don't want a touchscreen. That's the rule. One or the other. Thank you for your question, by the way. Gary Tatum said, I'd rather just back up the drivers on this guy and nuke it. You could do that. The other thing you can do is you can go to Nemo's website. Unlike some other companies on Amazon that sell mini PCs and laptops, Nemo has a website, and you could just download the drivers from Nemo. We go over here while we're doing this. Start without data, check, confirm, continue, check. And we'll just go to Nemo. See if it just comes up in a search. I'm curious. It's not Nemo TV. It's nemopc.com. And then we'll quick answers, get in touch. Must be another site. Back to website. Ah, I see. So search results, I clicked on the wrong thing here. Under support, and yeah, they're still running their Prime deal over at Nemo. So they've got these discounts still going on, even though officially Amazon Prime ended. And we're looking for, let's see. See, they have a couple higher end laptops here. They have the AI Max Plus 395. It's not out yet. That's on pre-sale because this says the HX 370 that we got here is a launch promotion. So that would mean it recently came out. And then normally, what do we do? Tech support? Trying to figure out. Return policy, RAM and SSD, price guarantee. Usually it's at the top. It's typically under support. And there's usually a download area. Let's just do it the search way. Nemo driver download NeuraBook. Oops. So here's the downloads. This is a different laptop. I'm trying to think what the number is on this one. But this is an example of what Nero support looks like. These are all your drivers individually. There's the whole operating system, 23H2, 24H2. And then these are all of the drivers. So Nemo does not withhold this from you. And looks like it was recently updated. Let me close this out and start the next Office install. Just keep clicking those blue buttons on install. Again, it won't matter if you can read it or not. Obviously, you wouldn't click the blue button on the yes or no, with no being blue. But when you read it in a different language, it's the blue button. And we're going to continue that. Now, sometimes when a laptop just first comes out, it may not, the manufacturer may not have the website fully updated yet. I don't know yet. I'd have to look. And you'll notice my date and time is off by about 13 hours. Now, this will self-correct, but if I want to do it right now, I can right-click and click Adjust Date and Time and set time zone automatically turned on, and then set time automatically, just turn it off and back on again, and watch down the right corner here. It's got it now, is right up to the second correct. It will do that on its own, but if you don't want to wait, that's how you can force it. Okay, there's another one gone. Uninstall, install, yes. Mark Gaines just sent 5 gift memberships to people. So Mark Gaines has paid for memberships for Dune591 in our chat room, Joseph, BH Ringer, Fatima Pino, and Christine P. Welcome into the memberships, guys, and thank you, Mark. That's very generous. Raj D, speaking of memberships, just renewed his membership. Now a member for 30 months. Thank you, Raj. This is what you call complete random kindness. Let me rephrase. Kindness to complete strangers. Random acts of kindness to complete strangers. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, we're going to click on that one. We're going to move to the next one. We're getting there. Barry Klein says, it's so nice of Nemo to include a free sample of Rosetta Stone language learning software with their laptop. You can learn uninstall in all 8 languages. Yeah, see, that's what you call a good attitude. Looking on the bright side. Yeah. Kevin Crowley just renewed membership, now a member for 41 months. You guys rock. Thank you, Kevin. Let's see if I can put camera 1 on, and I'll just put myself in a corner and we can kind of keep an eye on 2 things at the same time. I'll just come down here, I think. That ought to do it. Gary Tatum wants to know if adrenaline is installed in this. We can check that. Let me do all this first, and then we'll reboot and check our drive space. I'm just very curious how much drive space this is consuming. Morton just sent 5 gift memberships. Wow, you guys are amazing. Remember I told you we had an amazing community here? Look how generous the members are to complete strangers. They don't know you and yet still spent $50 to buy 5 memberships for 5 complete random strangers. And those random strangers, I hope, become regulars and not so strangers. I wasn't going to say not so strange. I take the lead in the strange. But Boru47 received a gift membership from Morton, as did Jason Wheeler, KRD771, Evan Starr. Did I name 5? Oh, and Trend Leader received a gift membership. Thank you so much, Morton. That's extraordinarily generous. And also Mark Gaines, and also Buster, our friend Peter Laycock. Now, in order to receive a gift membership, you have to join us in the chat room while this is happening live. If you're watching this video outside of October 10th, and likely after 4 p.m. Pacific time, you're not watching it live anymore. It's a recorded live video. And YouTube could do a better job to make that clearer, but you know, we can't control what YouTube does, so best I can do is explain it to you. Some people are confused and they don't understand if it says live, why when they watch it later is it not live. And yet we've all seen episodes of I Love Lucy, which was the very first TV show, I believe, to perform and record in front of a live studio audience. And yet they still air I Love Lucy. It's definitely not live anymore, but it was recorded live. This is actually live being recorded. And then once this is over, then the recording is what you will play back after the fact. All right, let's go through all of these OneNotes. It's going to be the same process. So yeah, if you want to be around supportive and kind to people, you are welcome to join us. And if you don't, you're welcome to leave. It's funny to me because it should be obvious. We want to build a community where people help each other. You know, not where everybody's out for themselves. That can happen out in the real world at your job or in your daily struggles in life to get bills paid or to move up in the world. But here we want everybody to just be on the same page, which is to either just be kind, I suppose. It doesn't matter how helpful you are as long as you're kind. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how old or how young, or rich or poor. None of that matters. And when you think about how big the world is, you think about how big YouTube is, and look at how small our community is by comparison. That's how difficult it is to find people willing to be kind. So it's the cream of the crop here. And if you feel that, hey, those are my kind of people, then you're our kind of people, and come join us. And you don't have to be a member. The chat is open to everyone, unless you prove to be disrespectful or only care about yourself, and that gets exposed. You probably won't be here very long. Common courtesy. Treat other people the way you want to be treated, and it'll take you a long way in life overall, but especially in our community. Raj wants to know if I tried the HP-IA tool for HP computers. I don't even know what you're talking about. No idea. I don't know what HP-IA is. You'd have to explain that to me. So I guess the answer to your question, the short answer is no. But the long answer is I don't even understand your question. Steve Chappelle said, I've been loving this community for years now. And we love having you here, Steve. It's great to have you here. But thank you. Lynn's Music said, my teacher told me not to worry about spelling because in the future there's going to be autocorrect. And for that, I am eternally grateful. Nice. You know what? Being funny in the chat room, in a kind, not in a bullying, but in a kind way, always welcome. Wow, that uninstall's taking a while, isn't it? Just a little resentful. This company does so much for their customers, and yet they're still doing this. And I consider this something they're doing to their customers. My impression, my perspective is this is not for your customers. This is what you're doing to your customers. You're forcing your customers to either lose this space or claw it back themselves. And if they don't know enough to do this, they'll never get that space back. So that's why it bothers me so much. It's just out of sync with everything else Nemo does. Lou Greeny reminds people the gifted memberships are a 30-day membership. So if you like what you've received, please renew when it's time. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We are not sponsor based here. So every video you see gets paid for through memberships. And that way we can be honest. We can just tell you, look, here's what I like, here's what I don't like. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I respect you enough that if given all the information I can provide, you'll make the right decision for you, which only you know. I can't know what's right for you. I can't know if your expectations align with mine. They probably don't. So that's your job. You take the information and you evaluate how valuable that information is to you. And then, of course, if you are thinking about purchasing something, I've at least given you an idea of what to expect so you don't get blindsided or surprised. A lot of times when companies send products for review, they do so under a condition that you must show the video to the company before you're allowed to show it to your audience, because they want to police it. They want to make sure that you're not saying anything inaccurate or saying anything too honest in a negative way that does not represent the company well. We don't do that here. We never have. When Nemo asked us if we would review their laptops, we did so under the condition that we do it live and that we're honest. That's it. No money exchanges hands. Now, if you go and buy one, we can make a commission off of that, but it's not like it's going to buy me a Tesla. They're inexpensive laptops. How much money in commission you think? But yeah, just for full disclosure, I got bills to pay like anybody else. I got to pay the electric bill and the internet bill, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this. So that being said, we want to be honest for the reason being that we want, if I see a company and they don't have a website and they don't have a way for you to download drivers and they're selling computers on Amazon, I'm going to say, look, if you want to sell computers in America, we expect you to have a website. We expect you to have a place to download drivers, just at a minimum. We can't even find you. And the only reason I can talk to you is because you reached out to me. I don't know how to reach out to you other than by hitting reply. So you need to get a website up. You need to get drivers up. And until you do that, I personally cannot recommend your product, nor am I interested in looking at any more of your products. And they say, well, we're working on it. Well, when you get it done, let us know. We're here to help you. And if you refuse the help, then, we're done. We've evaluated it. If nothing's changed, there's nothing more to evaluate. So the folks at Nemo obviously believe in their product enough that they say, you know what, Carey? We have a great product. We have our website. We've got drivers. We've got support. We are very confident that you're not going to find anything too critical. But, if you do, let us know. We'd appreciate it so that we can take that under consideration. Just because I think it makes them a better company doesn't automatically mean that's true. At the end of the day, they can't say we didn't know, right? They were told if they want to continue certain practices that I don't approve of for all the reasons I've given you, that's their choice. And if that's the way they want to continue, then we know exactly what to expect from them in that regard. This kind of threw me off today because I just got done saying how they don't put any bloatware on. And because this is live and unscripted and unrehearsed, I made an incorrect assumption, which, is embarrassing for me. And barring this one stupid thing, you damn near have a perfect product, in my opinion, for whatever that's worth. But making your customer do this in order to get back the space they purchased, it just doesn't flow with everything else they do for their customers. So that's why I'm making such a big deal about it. It's like knowing somebody who's always helpful, and then one day they're just doing something very selfish, and you're like, that's not like them. I've never seen that before. I didn't expect it from them. But maybe they're not aware. I always give people the benefit of the doubt in companies. Maybe they didn't know. They can do their own research, come to their own conclusions. It's their company. I'm not telling them how to run it. Just giving you an opinion. I would not do this to my customers. When you see me build computers for clients, you've never seen me do this. And I don't care, even if I were selling computers all over the world, I wouldn't do it. Just a clean Windows install, the way Microsoft intended, with your drivers, nothing else. AC's Drafting also just gifted a membership out there. Thank you, Aaron. And he just gifted that. Let's see who got it. Brooks Johnson got it. Right on. Very kind. Thank you, AC's Drafting. All right, we are almost done. One more here. See how time consuming this is? Doing this in real time, unedited, to prove a point, to make a point. And I would always do this before I even start to configure the computer for the stuff I actually want on it. And that's assuming I have enough space left over to even put what I want on it, unless I do this first. So, you know, all of these considerations. And Brooks Johnson, welcome into our membership. So the membership gives you access to our full video archive going back to 2009 and all of our Mondays members only videos. We only shoot live video on Monday for our members. Those videos are never ever made public. The only way you'll ever get to see them is by being a member. It's just a reward of membership. Also, if you have any technical questions and you want to email us, we give you priority support and we'll do our best to help you. Okay, so that takes care of the bloatware. Now, out of curiosity, if I go to the C drive, how much space? We were at, what I say, 56. How did this go backwards? Something else happened here. That's bizarre. What the heck? That's not a thing. Let's go ahead and restart the computer. I'm wondering if everything went in a recycle bin or something. Oh, here's what we can do. We'll run the disk cleanup, just in case they're sitting in a temporary directory, especially all those installers. Those can take up a lot of room. And you'll see down here, it'll show us how much space as we check every single box. Check this out. 5 gigs. Okay, delete. We'll let that run. We're going to reboot and we're going to check our drive space again. I didn't expect it to grow. That was weird. And that was quick. Let's go ahead and do start and restart. And as soon as it comes back up, we'll go ahead and take a look at our drive space again. Gram 48 is trying to clone a drive with a Cronus. It says it can't clone it. It can't clone it typically because you might have Secure Boot turned on and or if you have BitLocker turned on. You should know that Acronis has free support. Our good friend Begowden is their customer representative. And if you type in the word Reddit space Acronis in your favorite search engine, you will find a Reddit forum /r Acronis, I think is the name of it. You'll know it when you see it. Leave your question. Also, you can contact Acronis regular support too. Like if I paid for a version of Acronis, I wouldn't be asking strangers on the internet. I would be going to the company that I paid for the product to give me that support if it were me. But Begowden's fantastic, and in the Reddit forums, they may even have already addressed your question. You can do a quick search for it. But Begowden typically gets back to people within a few hours. Let's go back over to our drive space and let's see where we're at. This PC, right-click, properties. So it's still larger than it was, which I'm very confused about, unless it's still, maybe it's downloading 25H2 or something in the background. We should have gotten space back, not taken up more. And this is what happens when you shoot live videos.
See, it's been downloading updates, and some of these could be quite sizable, especially this cumulative update right up here. So we're going to let this continue to download and install, even though I'm hitting install all. Oh yeah, I guess it was waiting for that. We'll let that install. And so one of the things that I consider standard practice anytime you build or receive a new computer, make sure all those updates go in and there's no problems, because that can be indicative of bad RAM or some system instability. And you don't want to spend all the time reconfiguring a new machine the way you like it, only to end up realizing there's something wrong with the machine. So this is covering two different tests for us. One, it's making sure we're secure and up to date, and two, it's running the system through a burn-in, essentially. It should download and install the updates properly and restart, and you should repeat that until it says you have no more updates. Even if the update said they failed, it's often not a problem. It may not apply to you in that case, but when you restart, it shouldn't fail again. Like, that failure message should permanently go away and Windows 11 self-heals. All you have to do is keep returning to Windows Update after you restart from a Windows Update, and then check for updates again until it says you've got no more. It's that easy. At that point, then it's okay. Then, you know, I would put it on the Wi-Fi, I would add my printer, I would add my email, I'd start loading programs, and I would reboot after everything I've added, because if there's any problem that suddenly occurs, I'll know the last thing I added is likely the cause of the problem. But if I've made several changes and added several things, because I'm too impatient and I just assume, oh, it's going to be fine. What if it isn't? Then on your next reboot, one of the many things that you did since the reboot is the result of the error or the system instability. Good luck figuring that out, my friend. If that's how you want to spend your time and that's how you want to roll the dice, I'm not here to tell you not to. I'm here to tell you I don't do it that way. I can't afford it. So I always reboot between changes, and, you know, maybe I'll make 2 changes, and then if anything happens, I'll know it's one of the 2. If I'm going to make 7 or 8 changes, I hope you wrote down everything you did, or you've got a great memory, because you're going to have to undo those one by one and reboot over and over until the error goes away. You figure out what the culprit is. How that's saving you time, I don't get it. But have at it. There's a method to my madness. Slower is often faster. I'm looking over here in the chat while I'm waiting for these updates to install. AC's drafting saying that's a big laptop. Yeah, about 17.3 is about as big as they get. I think there's a few specialty laptops that may go bigger, but when you get a bigger screen, you eat more battery. And when you eat more battery, you have a shorter battery life, and the thing is heavier and more difficult to lug around, you know, to be portable. So for the most part, 17.3 would be the, there's basically 3 common sizes, 13, 15, or 16, kind of in the same class, and 17. And that's pretty much it. Anything smaller than that or larger than that makes up a niche, but is not typical or common. And yeah, I'm not used to a screen this big on my laptop. And it's amazing, that extra inch, because again, it's an inch diagonally. So it's making it wider and taller. That's a lot of inches of real estate. If you take those 2 numbers and add them up, that's a lot more than an inch. But we do measure screens from one corner to the opposite corner, and keep that in mind. A 27-inch television versus a 54-inch television. I want you to think about this. In order, so if I said to you a 54-inch television is twice as big as a 27-inch television, mathematically, yeah, that makes sense. 27 plus 27 is 54. Well, that's true horizontally, but it's not true diagonally. If you need to go, if you're going 27 inches diagonally, in order to go 54 inches diagonally, you'd have to get 2 27-inch TVs side by side, and then another 27-inch TV on top of each one of those. 4 27-inch TVs, then no matter which way you measure it diagonally, it's 54 inches. See how much 1 inch of diagonal size equates to much more screen real estate than just an inch. It makes a massive difference in the overall size of the laptop, as you can see. And he says he wants to know if Nemo is still leaving one RAM slot open. We'll open it up and take a look inside. It's one of the things I really like about the Nemo laptops is they're super easy to get into. Everything's upgradable. But obviously, when we're doing these kind of reviews, you could spend 12 hours trying out, you know, Cinebench and Crystal Disk Mark and Crystal Disk Info, opening it up, inspecting it, and then you might want to know how does it play this game or that game, and what about the Adrenaline software, and what about any updates, and what about, you know, uninstalling any bloatware, and before you know it, you know, people are going, geez, Carey, your video runs so long, and I'm like, well, do you want to know or do you not want to know? And a lot of people, they just want shortcuts. Like, I don't want to learn how to do math. I just want you to give me the answer of this math equation. And I'm the kind of person I want to teach people to be self-reliant. So I push back against that and I say, if you don't want to learn how to do the math, then I don't want to help you. Because otherwise what I'm doing is I'm working for you for free. You're asking me to do your work. I'm not interested in doing your work. I'm interested in teaching you how to do your own work. And that people don't get it. They're too lazy, they're too impatient, they have ADD, whatever the reason is, and they're just doing it to themselves. You know, if you think you're sticking it to the man by dropping out of school, you're just doing this to yourself. If you think you're sticking it to your teacher by not doing your homework, you're the one who's being punished by your own actions. So I just realize I can't reason with those kind of people. They're looking for free services. They're looking for me to work for them for free. And I never agreed to do that. Now, if you do have questions and you're like, hey, I'm having a computer problem, and I'm wondering if there's any tips you can give me, you're asking me to teach you how to fix it yourself. But if you're saying I'm having some computer problems, tell me what I need to do to fix it, but don't tell me why. Just, you know, all I want to know is what do I need to click on? At that point, I'll probably say, you know, we charge for that. There's always exceptions for the members because they're already paying. But you understand that we have a worldwide public viewing audience, and some of them are very entitled and don't seem to think about taking advantage of other people. I'm just asking you to do something for me. I don't know why. Hey, do me a favor, run down to the store and buy me a week's worth of groceries, would you? I'd really appreciate it. I love your content. I think you're great. Now, would you go work for me for free? Yeah, with fans like that. Who wants to be famous? I love you as long as you can always just work for me for free. Well, how about we reverse it? We'll go the other way around. Anybody who's run a business has run into customers like that. You know, hold on, let me call my electric company. Can I pay you guys with a fan? Can I pay you with love? You take love on credit? How much is my bill? 4 loves? That's the reality, though. The bill doesn't get paid, the electricity goes off, the channel goes away, and people will have, if I allowed it, they would drive me out of business. Not all people. I'm just talking about the ones that do this. They don't care if I go out of business. They don't care if I'm out in the street. That has no impact on them. So I have to protect myself from being, it's effectively a form of bullying. So sometimes there's a pushback, and sometimes then they go, well, then you're a jerk. Okay. Pay me and see how much of a jerk I am. It's a very different experience. Let me get a cold Gatorade as we're just waiting here for this to finish. We'll just turn off camera 1 for a second as I step away, and then If you have any more questions for me while we're waiting, this is a great time to ask. I'll do my best to provide answers, and we'll try and get through as much of this as we can within a reasonable, there's a word, within a reasonable period of time. Obviously, we're going to go longer than 2 hours because we're still doing updates, but I do intend to open this thing up and take a look. I've been impressed with everyone we've opened so far. I expect more of the same, and I do want to run that crystal disk mark and see what our benchmark is. Cinebench, I'm not really that interested in. Although with that processor, I am curious. But that's going to be 20-25 minutes just for that test. And I just think we're not going to have time for that today. Okay. Jack Kugelman joins us, says hello from Toronto, Canada. Welcome in, Jack. Good to see you. Some discussion of Windows 25H2. So far, I've had one computer that just came up with Windows Update offering it on its own. All the other ones I've manually done it because I didn't want to wait. But yeah, there's nothing critical about it that you need to run to it right away. Now, if you're on Windows 10, that's a different story. I'm just going back in the chat and seeing if I missed anything. I might have, and you guys will have to tell me if there's a question you asked that I have not addressed. It's likely because I haven't seen it, so you'll have to post it again. AC's Drafting has a question. I brought up the Windows 11 install problem. Figured I'd give it. Oh, he had a Windows 11 install problem, and since then, he thinks the issue is his P1 crucial NVMe drive. It boots sometimes, but often stops at the splash screen. Huh. I don't know if this is a laptop or a desktop, if you built it or it's pre-built, or how old it is, or when the problem started. So yeah, I mean, based on that information, it's possible, but it also could be possible without knowing all the details, that there's other things that could be causing those symptoms. A shout out again to Mark Gaines and Mortant and Buster for gifting a total of 15 new memberships to folks. That's a lot of members for me to gain in a day. Thank you so much for doing that, not only for me, but for them as well. They get a little taste of membership, and if they like it, next month, hopefully they'll renew. And if it's not for them, well, that's fine too. At least they'll know now. They don't have to wonder. Andy says he doesn't care about Cinebench. He already knows it's fast. Fair enough. I'm still curious, but I don't think I'll have time to do it during today's show. And yeah, that's still installing, almost done. Those cumulative updates are massive. I think regardless, after this update, we'll reboot it, and then we'll open it up and take a look at the insides. And I can run Crystal Disk Mark on. Crystal Disk Mark is pretty quick for me to run. Maybe I'll do that first, then shut it down, then we'll take a look. And then that way I don't have to put it all back together on camera, and we can wrap things up a little bit sooner, because we're just minutes away from a 2-hour mark here. And I've got to tell you, overall,
I strongly recommend Nemo. They're not perfect, they're close, and perfect is within reach, at least from my perspective of what a perfect product would be. They're this close, and it's just a software thing. And they may be unwilling to change that. And if so, I'll adjust my expectations accordingly. And we'll keep bringing it up every time they do it. We'll start looking for it. I don't look for that on other brands of computers. HP doesn't do that. Dell doesn't do that. All you need to do is look at the leaders in the space and see what they're doing. And then see what they're doing you don't like if they're putting McAfee and Norton or other bloatware on. And then let Windows 11 be Windows 11, and let Microsoft sell Office. They don't need you to do it for them. It's already there in every language imaginable with a 16K click. That's all it is. AC's Drafting said he had a giveaway computer. I know that narrows it down, that you gave my wife's father. I've been trying to update it to Windows 11. So which make and model did I send? I have no idea. I guess you upgraded it yourself, because I don't think I sent it with a Crucial drive, did I? He says Windows 11 is installed and it does work, but often boots to the splash screen. See, to me, that sounds like your video's not processing correctly. The first thing I would do is change the video cable from the computer to the monitor, especially if you have an older one or you bought a cheap one. We have different standards with HDMI. And a lot of people, they just think a cable's a cable, and they'll carry over an old cable to an old monitor. And the laptop being newer, it's going to be communicating in a way that cable can't carry the data. So therefore, it's sometimes not getting the answer it's looking for with regards to talking to the monitor. What resolution and what frame rate does it support? So even though the monitor hasn't changed, the computer has. You can go on Amazon, buy yourself a good 4K or 8K HDMI cable. Don't buy the cheapest, cable made. Make sure it's 4K supported or 8K supported. And they're under $10, and plug it in, and I think that might just solve your problem. Now, if it doesn't, well, then we know for a fact it's not the cable. You can return the cable or just keep it as a spare. That's what I would do if it were me. Or that's where I would start. Dennis mentions he's seen this laptop with $759 on Nemo's site right now, and the notebook is almost as fast as his 14th gen i9, and it's at a quarter of the power. It's impressive. It's impressive. Aaron said he already tried multiple cables. He's brought it home to work on it. Okay, good. So you got it out of that environment just to make sure it's not environmental. And you could always do a clean install of Windows 11 and see if it's something corrupt on the file system. I don't know if you've tried that. And then barring that, you could have a bad RAM module. If it's got more than one RAM module, take one out. And barring that, could be the drive. I mean, you could have nailed it. It's possible. It's unlikely, and that's why it's so far down my list, but it's still on the list. So, yeah. So maybe just swap the NVMe drive out and then see if you get any different behavior out of it. If so, I guess you'll have your answer. Sounds like you've already done all this work, so good job. Doing everything I would do.
Barry recommends you sacrifice the chicken and place its entrails on the keyboard. You should also wave the chicken bones over your head while rotating in a counterclockwise direction and chanting. Or that makes it rain. I can't remember. Oh, these cumulative updates just kill me. Nothing can bring a high-end machine down to its knees like a Microsoft Windows update. That's why you just let them run in the background, you know? Normally, this stuff is going to happen in the background and you don't even realize it until it pops up and says, hey, you're ready to reboot. The only exception for me is when a machine is brand new or it has not been powered on in a long time. And the first thing I want to do is get it up to date, because the internet is such a dangerous place. Procrastinating that or putting that off could be the demise of your data. It could be the introduction to ransomware. It could be the loss of your identity. And there's some really, really serious consequences that people oftentimes don't really see the real threat. They just refuse to see it. And you warn them and warn them and warn them, and then it happens, right? You go, well, I mean, I warned you. But at that point, you're not being very helpful by saying that. They're well aware. They already know. It's just a shame, because now it's going to be a nightmare to get it all corrected, and it's going to cost a lot of money. But if they said, well, I didn't know, that'd be different. But when they did know and they still chose to ignore it until they couldn't ignore it anymore. People, what can you do? I imagine doctors must feel this way. You know, you really need to do something, cut down on the sodium. Okay, and then they don't do it, and then they've suffered a heart attack or a high blood pressure related stroke, and now they're forever paralyzed on one side of their body. You know, and that's, you know, assuming it doesn't kill them. And they go, you know, doc, I really should have cut back on that sodium. See, you knew, you were told. Now there's only so much the doctor can do. Todd mentions you have to make sure you get the free-range chickens if you're going to do the sacrificial chicken fix. It's one of the tastier of the sacrifices. Bill Sony saying good night. All right, enjoy your evening and enjoy the rest of your Friday, Bill. Thanks for hanging out with us today. One of the things I also like about Nemo is their laptops are put together with regular old everyday ordinary Phillips screws. They're not using Torx bits. They're not like a T15 or whatever HP is using. You know, it's not like a slotted screwdriver that can slide out and scratch everything up. It's a nice, standard, ordinary, everyday Phillips screw. And yes, it's a small screw because it's going into a small computer. So you do need like a jeweler's level of screwdriver in most cases. But we'll find out on this one here in a moment. It's still updating even though the video output's not going out right now. It's showing me the screen, but like I said, the video driver in Windows has to load for my HDMI output here to go to your screen. And it'll do that, yeah, I was going to say in just a minute, and it just did. Dustin Fuller says, great stream as always, Carey and Mara. Thank you, Dustin. Remember, this does have a 90-day, if you order it from Nemo, you get 90-day return. If you order it from Amazon, it's a 30-day standard return. But from Nemo, 90 days. I mean, if you can't make up your mind in 90 days if you like it, I got news for you. You like it. It's like me trying a new flavor of potato chip. I don't know if I like these chips. They're weird. I don't know. Let me have another one. And then the bag is empty. Well, I got to guess I liked them. My favorite is Sometimes there'll be a product, there's something about it, this is nasty. Mara had picked up some really stinky Parmesan cheese. And she's like, oh, this smells terrible. And then she eats it and she's like, oh, it's so pungent. Oh, I gotta have some more of this. This is the worst cheese I've ever had, but it's delicious. Which one is it? Now, when we go to the store, we need to get another bag of this terrible cheese. Cracks me up. Casey's Drafty said, yeah, you need to get another bag to figure it out. Yeah, and then another one, and another one, and another one. Just not sure. Yeah, he says quality check. Can you imagine if I had that for a job? Holy cow. Jabba the Carey. Oh, oh, oh. All right, in just a minute, it says it's, well, you can see 100% there. And then what I'm going to do is grab my utilities flash drive, and we'll do our crystal disk smart test. I'm expecting about 5,000, maybe 6,000 megabytes per second on the reads and writes. That should be pretty typical on our Kingston NV3. We did have a machine that had an NV2 placed in it. Somebody made a mistake. And the NV2 from Kingston is a very different drive, nowhere near as good. Once they were made aware of it, they immediately, they being Nemo, insisted on correcting it. I said it's not that big of a deal. You know, I was just trying to find out, is that normal? They said, no, somebody made a mistake, and and they immediately sent us the NV3 Kingston drive. I'm like, you don't have to do that. No, we insist. Okay. Then they said, did you put it in? Did it fix it? Yes, and yeah, now it's running where it should be. And they were like, thank you for bringing it to our attention. Sorry for the inconvenience. That's the way a company should respond. Companies aren't immune from making errors. Companies may not even be aware they made an error. So to come at them as though it was done on purpose with intention and willful, it's not the right approach. Geez, it's still updating. It rebooted again. That must have been one heck of an update. Finally, we're getting up to the login screen. It says welcome, and there's the desktop. So why is it no longer being shared? Oh, wait a minute. I'm on the wrong screen. There it is. Okay. I was looking at the feed instead of looking at the live. All right, so let me grab my flash drive and grab my glasses. And we're going to put on PC testing software. Now keep in mind, a program like CPU-Z will tell you what RAM you have installed on your laptop or mini or desktop computer without having to open it. So without physically opening this laptop, I can download this free small utility called CPU-Z. Just Google it and download the zip file. It doesn't install anything. The zip file doesn't. It's a portable version. And under memory, under SPD, it tells us what's in slot 1 and what's in slot 2. So it does appear that there is only one memory module in here, and I can tell you that without having to turn a screw. Just so you know, it's an ADATA technology, which is made by Micron. It's a 4800 speed DDR5, and the module size is 32 gigs. You see that? No screwdriver necessary. We can still look in there anyway because it's cool. Let's go over to Crystal DiskMart Portable, and we'll run DiskMart 64, and we'll see if we're getting the expected speeds out of the Kingston NV3. So I'll hit all and let that run for a moment. That first number on the top left is going to be our sequential read. That is the absolute fastest this drive can run under the best of circumstances. It is performing, I said, between 5,000 and 6,000. It pretty much is between 5,000 and 6,000. It'll finish the rest of the read sequences on the left side, going through different types of file reads, all of which will be much smaller numbers. Then it'll start at the top on the right side, and then it'll determine how fast the drive can write or record data. And that'll also be sequentially in the best possible case scenario. And that number is traditionally a smaller number, but maybe by 1,000 or so. So I'm expecting to see at least 4,000 to 5,500, because it's possible it could write as fast as it reads. It's less common, and so therefore anything in that range is perfectly expected and normal. Every drive manufacturer can use different types of NAND memory and controllers, and there's no sort of standard baseline other than basically, what's the word? There's a range of acceptable performance, in my opinion. If it's Gen 3 or if it's Gen 4 or if it's Gen 5 NVMe, I expect it to perform, especially on a mid-range drive. This is not a high-end NVMe drive, and it's also not a low-end. It's a bulk, Kingston sells these NV3s very inexpensively to system manufacturers. They're not slow and they're not fast, and they're priced in such a way that it offers the consumer a lot more value for the dollar. Yeah, so as expected, the write is darn near as fast as the read on this. And that's absolutely Gen 4 all day long. But Gen 4 can actually do 7,400. But it also costs you more money for the same amount of capacity, and it will generate more heat. Also, there's the difference between, let's say, a read speed of 5,500 and a read speed of 7,400. It results in just a few milliseconds of load times. So whether or not you can see that as a human being, it's highly unlikely. But if you happen to be using some unique piece of software with a significant amount of internal I/O, it's possible it makes a difference that you can notice. Most people only notice it on benchmarks. A lot of problems that, or questions that we get are, how come my benchmarks say my computer's slow? Or how come my computer's slow? And I go, well, what do you mean? And then their example is a benchmark. And I'm like, well, why do you believe your benchmark is even telling you the truth? How do you know your benchmark's not lying to you? If you turn off the benchmark and you use your computer, actually use it for whatever you bought a computer for, what's running slow? Let me see it. Show it to me. Don't show me a benchmark. Show me something loading that's taking too long. Show me something rendering that's taking too long. How much faster are you thinking this should go? What were you expecting? Let's determine if there's a real problem here, or if we're dealing with more of a psychological attitude issue. Because I can help if there is something physically going on with the computer, with a driver issue, or a conflict, or a corruption. But if that's happening in your head, I can't help you with that. That's the poison side, the toxic side of YouTube. Unfortunately, people are led to believe these benchmarks mean anything. I could get a piece of scientific equipment to tell you the quality of the steak I'm about to make you. I can tell you that this steak is grass-fed, that it's been aged a certain amount of time, it's been massaged and cared for, it's gone through a quality control process that you can scientifically prove makes it less dense, more tender, and overall a just better cut of meat. But when I cook it and serve it to you and you taste it, do you just automatically like it even if it tastes like garbage? Because all the benchmarks say that's a good piece of meat. And it was cooked properly the way you wanted it, and yet it still tastes terrible. That's the only thing that matters. None of that other stuff matters. Unless the end result is when you bite into it, the human being's benchmark of experience, feel, flavor, texture, smell. These are things computers can't do. They don't have any feelings. How does that make you feel? Does it put a smile on your face, or are you pissed off you just got ripped off? Because either way, you're not wrong. So how accurate were the benchmarks? All right, let's save, speaking of benchmarks, let's save these benchmarks. So the reason I run the benchmarks is to make sure I'm getting what I'm paying for. That's all. If I'm paying for Gen 4, I want to see Gen 4 speeds. And if I'm paying for a mid-range Gen 4, I expect mid-range Gen 4 speeds. Paying for a high-end, why did I pay the extra if I'm not getting it? Right? So there is that. But it has to be significant. It can't just be a few hundred megabytes. It's got to be like well without the low end of the range for me to be upset by it. That's why I caught the Kingston NV2. It stood out so far below what I was expecting. And when you go that far below, yeah, you can absolutely notice the difference. All right, let's go ahead and save that result. Put that on the desktop. And I'm done with my flash drive. And we'll shut this off and open it up real quick. Take a look inside, answer any additional questions, and then we'll wrap it up today. So power this bad boy off. And while that's powering down, we come back over to camera 1 full screen. And is it off? Looks off to me. I have a blue light instead of a red light, so I think my battery is fully charged now too. Now when I open this up, I don't want to get myself tangled up, and I want to be respectful, especially since I'm not rich and I can't go out and buy all new stuff all the time. I have to take care of what I have. If only I was born rich and I can just abuse everything in my life and replace it. I could be on my 4th Mara. What is wrong with this guy? Also, I failed to mention, there is right up here, let's see if I can close in on this. Right up here. Yeah, the camera has a hard time focusing on something that's this reflective. We have a webcam right here. Wow, it is struggling. Even now. Come on. Wow. Focus on my hand. You know what? It'll be so great when they build AI into these cameras. That's not working for me. Let's go back to camera 1. That is not working. Right up here, there is a shutter that slides left and right, and that is to block the web camera. So if you're uncertain or you're worried that your web camera could be turned on without your knowledge, it's leaving the lens cover on. So we've all taken pictures and forgot to take the lens cover off. You got nothing. So you slide that back and forth. It's just it's not electronic or anything. You just slide it, just like a lens cover. That's all it is, and it's built into the screen, so you can cover that webcam up if you choose to. Or if you're going to use the webcam and people are like, we can't see anything, that's because your shutters are still on, your lens cover's on. All right. On the bottom, let me try camera 2 again, see if it got to its senses. That's better. You see all these screws? They're silver, they really stand out. We're going to take all those out across the back, the middle, and the front. These are all standard Phillips screws. I don't think my bigger driver will work, but let me just try it. Is that too big? Yeah, that's too big. So I do have more of a jeweler's set of screwdrivers. I also have one of these really tiny ones that's for my electric. Even that's too big. So we definitely want to use like jeweler's screwdrivers or electronics drivers like these that have the insulated handles on them. And on this one, I can probably take the biggest Phillips I've got here. I was looking to see what the number says on it. And I'll bet you that fits in there just fine, based on previous experience, unless I might be remembering it wrong. That may be still too big. I'll go to the next size down. I want the largest driver that will fit in there for the best gripping. I don't want to cam out or strip out the top of the screw. So the second one fits in there perfectly. This is a Pittsburgh. This is sold by Harbor Freight Tools, I believe. This is a number 0, Phillips number 0. And because these screws may be different lengths, depending on where they're located, like that one there is pretty long screw, likely because it's holding up the hinge. And these here will probably be much shorter screws because they're just holding down the back of it. So you can see there's going to be a height difference. And what I do is, as I take them out, I just put them in a line in the order I took them out. All right? I definitely don't like using, they have electric drivers for the small bits. That makes me nervous to work on delicate equipment with tiny screws and then use. I realize those drivers are nowhere near as powerful, but it just makes me cringe. So that's the whole back row of screws right there, with the tallest of them bookending those. And then I go to the next level here, which is the center. And we'll go right across the center. Start with that one, and I'll start a new row. That way every screw goes back into the same hole. Whether or not you can mix and match certain ones. Look how that one in the middle is longer. And it can be hard to remember where the longer ones go. But you'll find out when you try and put a longer one in one of the mounting holes that won't go that deep and the screw won't tighten. And then what do most people do? Try and tighten it some more. Not a good idea. Okay, so just 4 screws on the second row, and then we're going to go to the row right up at the front of the laptop. There's 4 more screws. Okay, there's 1, and these are all going to be little ones because that's a very shallow area. That's where the laptop is at its thinnest. I think if you want Nemo to put the RAM in like 2 sticks of 8, or like this has 32 gigs, you could probably talk to Nemo and say, could you build that with, instead of 132, could you put 2 16s in it? Nemo is very accommodating. I'm sure they would do that for you if you asked them. Remember, they're assembled here, at least partially, in the United States. So they can accommodate those kind of requests if you want them to. Or if you want to do it yourself, they're more than happy to accommodate that as well. With all the screws out, now it's just a matter of figuring out where I separate the bottom here. There's going to be a seam. And I've got to tell you, the seam is so close, it almost looks like there's no seam. The manufacturing precision on that is impressive. What that means is I'm going to need a plastic spudging tool or a guitar pick, something pretty thin that we can locate some area anywhere around here that we can get behind it, or not between the seam. And I'm just trying to see if this will slip in anywhere. And I don't want to push down too hard. I just want enough to sort of get in there. Sometimes with the Nemo laptops, there's a lip that extends on this whole back piece behind the hinge, and I've seen this on other laptops too. Sometimes you can grab that lip and pull up, and the whole thing just comes off, and turns out no spudging tool is needed after all. I mean, how much easier could it be? That's a little tip from your Uncle Carey. Let's go back to camera 1. And let's take a look together at the inside of what we're looking at here. Okay, battery. Almost a shame they didn't take up all the space with a battery and get you more battery life, but 15-hour battery life is still pretty good. You got your cooling fans and your heat pipes. This is our NVMe drive right up there. And there's our single RAM module and the empty socket beside it for another RAM module. And there is a spot for another NVMe drive on this, right on top of this black strip. Under this black strip is what our Wi-Fi, I would guess. Let's see what's hiding under here. There's your Wi-Fi 6E MediaTek. So if you didn't like MediaTek and you wanted to go to Realtek or Intel, take that screw out, pop a new one in, pop your antennas back on, load your drivers, you're good to go. Need to replace your battery? Fully accessible. Want to upgrade your RAM? Fully accessible. Want to change your NVMe or add a second one? Fully accessible. It's that easy. That's all there is. It's incredibly simplistic. These little square boxes down here, those are your left and right speakers. I feel like this is thumbnail time. I gotta take out my glasses and primp. There we go. I feel like an idiot. It'll look great in the thumbnail and people will never know. How much time did he spend making a thumbnail? Don't ask. Enough of that. Enough of that. Talk about being a poser. I was posing. Okay, final questions? Anybody have any final questions? Congratulations, you've reached the end of the internet. Dennis says, man, I wish it was that easy to get the back off of my laptop, right? Barry Klein said he just uses a crowbar on his, it comes right off. See, it's all what you know. Yeah, if you have any special requests, a lot of times if Nemo can, they obviously will accommodate those requests, but you're going to have to ask. So don't be shy. If you want to know, reach out to them. Don't reach out to me. I can't answer for them, but do reach out to them and see what they tell you. That went on easy. And then the screws just go right back in the same order of rows. I just took them out. What more could you want? They could give it to you for free, I suppose. I don't think they're going to be in business very long if they do that. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for me for today, unless I see any other questions come in. But perhaps I'll run Cinebench on this offline, just because I'm curious what kind of numbers it gets. I imagine it's probably pretty similar to any other computer that uses that mobile AI 370 chip. I imagine it's not going to perform much differently. Andy said he did just ask Nemo. How much does the laptop weigh? Bajan Guy wants to know. You know, I don't have a scale. I have no way to accurately tell you other than to say, if we look back at the product page for the information that's provided by Nemo, that would have to be something the manufacturer would accurately weigh. Let's see if they did include the weight of it here. If we go over to my window capture and back over to the Amazon specs, there's, yeah, right here, 4.6 pounds appears to be the weight. Almost, you know, any sort of specifications question should be listed here. And that's the first place I would look at. From your wireless type, the length of time on your battery, the speed of the RAM, the type of the RAM, the maximum resolution that the included display offers. Now, obviously, if you hook up an external display,
then you can have the resolution that the external display provides. But at 1080 and 144 Hz, you've got a pretty capable little portable gaming rig right here, if that's important to you. But fair enough question there. If there's anything else I can answer, certainly happy to do that. Glenn's Music said 4.6 pounds is 2 kilograms. You could tell me however many kilograms. I'm just going to believe you. I'm going to nod my head and say, yes, of course it is. Kilowatt? Gigawatt? Andy's saying, thank you to all the chat for a great chat. Right on. You guys rock. I told you they rock. Bajin guy said, that's pretty light if it's only 5 pounds. Well, either that or I'm really super strong. I can hold it with one hand, no problem, all day. Ooh. Yeah. Well, look, I don't make the big deal out of that because, quite frankly, it's not like Nemo's using any other tech that any other laptop manufacturer isn't using today. So if you're basing what the weight of this is for the screen size and the performance against something you bought years ago, I don't think Nemo's really doing anything any differently in that regard of weight savings. If they are, I'm blissfully unaware of it. It's just the evolution of technology getting smaller and lighter and cheaper and faster. Thank you to all the members for hanging out with us today. I'd love to having you here, as I always do. And for everybody that's new here, welcome in. We hope you come back and join us. For members, we'll be back on Monday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. Sunday, I have a video coming up, which is a different kind of a mini PC that was sent to us. I don't know how that's going to go. Okay, I really don't know. So I think that'll be a good Sunday video. The only ones that require members are the Monday's videos only. So don't worry if you're not a member, you can watch Sunday's video. I should have my Nano KVM Pro remote access tool in any day now. It's left customs, and it's at the last mile of delivery. I could get it today, I could get it tomorrow. I will save that for a public video. I won't just show that to members only. But we got the mini PC any day, the Nano KVM Pro. Any day now I should get the new Orico NAS that we ordered from Kickstarter. I think any day. And then there's a few other items we're waiting on. We had a big delay because of the Chinese holiday where everything was shut down for basically 10 business days effectively. It was October 1st or October 8th for their National Day, and then they had their Forest Autumn Festival that followed this year, just happened to follow right after. So they, Chinese people had a nice long, basically 2-week holiday, and everything was shut down. So a lot of things that were going to be shipped out during this 2-week time, they, you know, if anybody was working, it was a skeleton crew. But now things should be back up and running and companies should be back to work, and we shouldn't have to deal with that again for a long time. But that's why there has been a delay for us to waiting on some content to review. If there's items you'd like us to review, computer-related tech or computers themselves, if we can afford to purchase it, or we can reach out to the company to ask us to send one for review under the circumstances that we can view it live, we can air it live, and we're honest, we're certainly reach out and try and make that happen if it's something we know about. If it's in my wheelhouse, we're looking for ideas, but it's still got to be related to what I do. Yeah, I'm still expecting 2 or 3 computers in for repair, and people are dragging their feet. I can't make them do anything. I mean, when they're ready,
We'll have videos when they bring them. We'll diagnose them live. We know they're not fixed. We know it's still a problem. They haven't gone anywhere else. And for whatever reason, they just haven't gotten around to getting it to me so I can diagnose it. So we have stuff that's, you know, checks in the mail. But until I have it, I can't schedule a video. So what we do have right now is we do have that mini PC. I have shipping confirmation that the Nano KVM Pro is within the last leg of its trip. So that could be as late as Monday, but I think it could be even today sometime. And those are two really cool videos I'm really looking forward to making, because it's different. You know, it's not the same old thing over and over. I want to shout out a thanks to our friends at Nemo for so generously offering us these machines time and again to review them. For full disclosure, we do send these back to Nemo. They want them back, we give them back. And then after they get it, right, you say, hey, you got anything else? Or sometimes they reach out to us. Hey, you have some time? You want to review something else? We got this. I'm pretty much always a yes with Nemo. They're one of the few companies, like Minis Forum, you know, where I'll sit there and say, whatever you got, you don't even have to ask. Just send it. We're loving everything and always looking for areas of improvement. They're not perfect. And I've yet to find a perfect company. I kind of feel like if I can't find anything to criticize, I'm not doing my job. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes I might nitpick over little tiny things, but I want to be clear that I'm not a shill and that I'm not being paid to, you know, only say positive things. So I do try to find some negative when there's overwhelmingly positive with Nemo. And even on products that that I feel mostly is negative, I still try to find some positive. So that way you also know I'm not being paid by a competitor, right? There's nothing going on behind the scenes. I believe in honesty and transparency, being genuine. Even though you may not agree with my evaluations, they are honest. All right, and thanks to Mara for all the work she does in the background, our channel administrator, and that thumbnail she made today, am I right? All the links for the video, all the links for the Nemo laptop are in our video notes below the video. I want to shout out one more time our friends at URCDKEYs. If you're looking for a discounted, legitimate, supported, guaranteed Windows or Microsoft Office key, that's your place. And if, as I promised, we're going to show the email address. So if you run into any issues or you're looking for any help, whether or not we can help you or guide you to where you can find that help, because we're not experts in everything, please use this email address to reach out to us. This is open to everyone. Members do get priority responses, okay? And that's our way of returning back our support back to our members. Don't take it personally. We will get back to you as soon as we can, with members being a priority. Be sure you spell our email address correctly, or we may never get it, and then you'll be mad at us for not replying to you when we never got your email. So keep that in mind. We also have a forum that you can go to if you want to hang out with the members of our community. And if I open up a browser here, and I'll share the screen. Let me get rid of the email address real quick and let me share the screen. What you'll do is you'll type in my name right up here at the top, CareyHolzman. Again, you got to spell that right. There is no letter T in my name. And then we do boards, BOARDS.net. Press enter. And this is open 24/7. It's completely free. There's no way you could possibly pay any money. And under general discussion, you'll find many of our members and familiar faces in today's chat, along with many others, having conversations with each other in here, or talking about a product they had or an experience they had, or even a hobby such as ham radio that they wonder, is anybody else in the community into ham radio? All this kind of stuff. Discussion is open to whatever you want to discuss. This is what you guys decide. And it's free to sign up for. Now you can read all these messages for free, but if you want to post, we need to make sure that you're not a spammer, a scammer, or a bot. So we just need you to register with your email address to know you're a real person. We really don't give a rat's behind what your email address is, and we're never going to use it. But if you're a spammer, we need to block you. And without an email address to block your account, we can't stop you. So that's why it's there. It's because the internet is filled with nasty, mean, cruel jerks who attack random strangers for no reason, no justifiable reason. As a result, we have to put these protections in place, not because we want your personal information. We don't want it. But we have to verify you are an actual person. More or less, we have to be able to verify that if you misbehave, we can prevent you from participating any further. And that's done based on an account tied to an email address. That's all it is. That's all it is. Okay, it's all free, and post to your heart's content. No limit there. Have at it. Okay, and that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday. We're enjoying the rest of this cloudy gray sky weather that we never get in Phoenix, very rarely, a couple times a year. And the drop in temperature is actually not terrible outside. And we will be back on Sunday with the mini PC review. And that'll be at 1 o'clock. Monday, members only at 1 o'clock. And then from there, we'll figure out what the week will be based on what comes in the mail, if anything. We always do a show on Fridays, by the way. You can always count on a Friday show at 1 o'clock, no matter what. And as a member, you can always count on a show every Monday at 1 o'clock. That much is a certainty that isn't changing unless otherwise stated. So at the very least, you know exactly on Mondays, if you're a member, there's always going to be a member's video. And on Fridays, there's always going to be a public video. It's always at 1 o'clock Phoenix time. That'll wrap it up for me for today. Thank you all so much. Thank you again to Buster and Mortant and Mark Gaines. Is it Mark Gaines? For gifting all those memberships. Great generosity. You know, Barry Klein had done that. Buster's done it as well previously. But today, we got 50 new members through gifts from our community, from other community members, just to random strangers, random acts of kindness. AC's Drafting gave one out as well. And I'm missing somebody. I feel like I'm forgetting. Yeah, it was Mark Gaines sent out 5. Mortant, Mark Gaines, and our friend Buster, Peter Laycock. Now, if that's not a community you want to hang around, I'm speechless. Thank you so much for being awesome. We're going to see you all again on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Hope you'll join us then. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Friday and your Saturday. We'll see you back here on Sunday, 1 o'clock. Bye for now.